with OTC. Are you down with OTC? OTC. Are you down with OTC? Are you down with OTC? OTC. Are you down with OTC? Down with OTC. Down with OTC.
Who's down with OTC?
I'm down with OTC.
Who's down with OTC?
Cow.
Yeah,
Fired
hello.
up. Chip, man, we have so much to talk about.
There's so much going on.
It's crazy. Like every day there's a little, different approach of looking at this thing, the SEC versus Ripple. And man, it just keeps going and going and going. And you see how some of the exchanges are responding. We're seeing how now there's another lawsuit against we got a lawsuit over there against Coinbase. We're going to get into a ton of stuff. But before we even get into anything, I just want to give a quick shout out to someone that's relatively new to the channel. His name is Shahab Hamdan. And I just want to shout this out because I thought, he put the first comment in the stream today. And I really, really appreciate it. Chip pointed it out as well. But Shahab said, I've watched you guys a few times, and I like that you don't pick sides. You share both sides, going right down the middle. Interested to hear about the Coinbase news today. There you go. You pulled it up there. I was reading it up over here. Outstanding. Really appreciate you. And appreciate all of you guys that are in here with us tonight. And even my son's watching. So my son's comment scrolled up there somewhere.
Shout out to Aaron, by the way. There you are. By the way, Jeff, I'm going to have to be more diverse tonight. I can't go all one direction. So I'm going to kind of go both sides now because I feel a lot of pressure coming on by Shihab Hamdan. He's calling us, so we got to be really cool about that.
That's it. That's
which
it,
is
man.
Good. So what do you think we kick this this little shindig off? You ready?
Let's do it. Let's do it right now.
Are you down with?
Oh. Hey, let's try that again.
Jeff, I can't be 100% sure, but I think we got to get the magic finger ready. Are you ready?
Yeah, I think we need to start from the beginning. Take it up.
Welcome to On the Chain with Jeff and Chip.
Hey, we're back.
All
Jeff's
right,
over there.
we are back. How awesome is that?
We
How
are.
awesome is that?
Yeah, so I just wanted to start off by saying that if you guys were ever a fan of Gilligan's Island, the actress Dawn Wells who played Marianne has passed away due to complications of COVID-19. So sad day, man. I mean, I had a lot of
Morbidity.
I was lucky enough to meet her in person. Just very sweet, very nice, not pretentious at all. Went to one of these fundraisers up in Palm Beach, big shindig. Man, in the 90s already. Holy cow! It must have been 25
Nice.
years ago.
That's
But
it,
anyway,
man.
so
Long time,
we got
long
Yeti
time.
Baby Coin. I know who Yeti Baby Coin is.
No, the Yeti baby, Yeti baby, the Yeti coin.
Yeti Baby
Now.
Coin. Yeti Baby Coin. That's
We
so funny.
got Spanish Flies on Spanish Fly. I haven't seen you on in so long, but it's great to see you here.
Just on the other
man.
night.
Oh, that's right. I know, but it seems
Wow,
like
so
forever
long.
ago.
Seems like
so
forever.
long. We've got a lot of people in here. I saw Rain pop in here. We got Tony Fisk in here. Sir John all the way over, man. It's like 3 a.m. I saw someone else is in here from Germany, and it's like 2 a.m.
Croatia.
There we go.
Croatia just had that horrific,
Yeah.
earthquake. So I hope everything's cool over there,
right.
man. That's hope everything's good, man.
Yeah.
So we have Wade Hutchin just popped in here. Let's see what he's up to.
Wade, what's up, Chi-Town?
So I think we ought to kick it off. Why don't we kick this off? It's interesting to see that, I mean, how many lawsuits can we stack up in a week? Maybe tomorrow there'll be 3 or 5 more.
We can. Keep them going.
Right? Let's just keep them moving, keep them going. So we have a new one. This is against Coinbase. And hey, what's up,
All the
Leo
way from Brazil.
From Brazil? Yeah, I always mention that my son-in-law is Brazilian, and I was fortunate to spend some time with him. And I want to do a shout out if he's listening, or watching or whatever. I know he's driving.
Baseball?
No, does not play baseball. But he's more. No, it's not his thing. But he, it's cool because he texted me the other day, and he's like, hey, XRP dropped to 17. Do I buy it? I'm like, I'm a fan. I go, but you got to do you got whatever you feel comfortable with. He's like, I'm buying. So I was like, really cool. First time he got into crypto over this holiday, so it's really cool.
Sweet,
very,
man.
very, very cool. It's always a good thing. And I got to be honest with you, Jeff. If I had to say it, not 100% sure.
XRP. Not 100% sure, but we think it's magic. Magic and
baby.
DNI. Man, I thought you just mentioned the IMF, and that's why the DNI popped in here.
I think I mentioned that. I might have said Christine Lagarde under my breath, and that was like the bat signal to call DNI.
Yep.
I think we mentioned incrementalism, so that could have been part of it too.
I was thinking incrementalism and IMF and Lagarde all at the same time, and
no, it wasn't.
I was actually broadcasting it up in the sky, and that's
beautiful. So he says Ginger. No, it was Marianne, but.
Hey, here's a quick question to get started before we really dive into all this other good stuff. But and Owen here is saying when XRP trading is halted for most of the U.S., trading will continue around the rest of the world. Do you think the price goes up or down? But I want to really just highlight the point that right now there's a lot of talk about the exchanges in the U.S. Delisting XRP or pausing the listing of XRP, but really again we really point this out so many times that XRP, like all other digital assets, are really global in nature, and you see a ton of trading that really takes place outside of the U.S. And so I think that that's really important. So he brings up a really valid point that trading is going to continue. It's going to continue in Japan and Korea and so many other places all around the world.
Yeah. So what do you want to jump into first? I mean, there's so much stuff. We got more stuff to talk about that we can get to. So what do you want to jump?
Now let's start with the Coinbase thing because that's kind of awesome.
Yeah.
Or do you want to wait on that?
I don't know. I mean, I think we can dive into it, but what I wanted to do is I wanted to read the so on this lawsuit. This is a lawsuit. This the person who brought a lawsuit against Coinbase named Thomas Sandoval, and I was reading the complaint, and this always cracks me up. So just the opening paragraph here. The class action suit seeks recovery for persons who paid commissions for securities illegally sold to them by Coinbase. Okay, what? What? Excuse me, but which commissions and securities are we referring to? A complaint against Ripple is not an enforceable anything. They haven't had a pretrial hearing yet, right? So then it says Coinbase holds itself out as a digital exchange, essentially a commodities broker for cryptocurrency. Whoa, this is getting sillier by the moment. Then we're not even into the grand finale yet, and then it says, nonetheless, Coinbase sold a token called Ripple. What? Coinbase sold a token called Ripple. Throw it out of here. Get it out. Yank it out of here. You know what happens about lawsuits, though? You got to fight them. You got. Unless you settle with somebody, unless it gets thrown out of court where a judge looks at it and says this is silliness and it's baseless and whatever, then you got to go ahead and you got to defend it to some point.
Man, it's crazy, and it's interesting too because here, Coinbase is going to have to defend if the case, does move forward. But what happens if that case prolongs and yet the Ripple case with the SEC finishes and they settle? Then that other case is no longer valid because the whole point of the case is that they're selling them a security. But at this point, XRP still isn't a security. It's like you're saying, it's just a claim by the SEC. The SEC's filing lawsuit. And then you have Ripple that still has 20 to 30 days. I think since they're in California, they have 30 days to respond. And then there's a court date, February 22nd, and there's a possibility. I don't know. Maybe there's some sort of. You brought it up earlier that there's a possibility of getting in front of the magistrate, maybe even settling early. Who knows? But it looks like they're going to fight. But something's going to transpire.
Or getting in front of the magistrate. So on a federal case like this, if you go in the local Anna Torres, the Honorable Anna Torres, who was the judge that was appointed, and in the Southern District of New York, put out an order stating that it was up to both parties whether they wanted to go forward. Now and it was saying basically if you wanted expediency, you could go to a magistrate, which would speed everything up, right? Because when you go through the district court, it's a lot slower, it's painful. I know this firsthand. There's stuff going on in New York that I've been dealing with since March, okay? So that's what they don't want. Now, it has to be agreed to by both parties, and I really don't see the SEC not wanting to do it, and wanting to go to a pretrial hearing and wanting to hear everything in there. But I put a tweet out earlier basically saying, and I'll pull it up in a little bit.
That's a good one. Yeah, that's a good one.
Did you see that one? Well, I put a couple of them out there. I couple of them out there, but I do
saw the good one.
Okay, well, you got to tell me what the good one was. I don't want to dare show the other ones that it's like that's not the good one. That was the other one. Oh, okay. Sorry, I had the wrong one. But when you're dealing with the magistrate, look, it behooves everybody involved in this to go forward with it. SEC saying game on. Ripples can't wait to get out of the corral. They're lawyered up. They got some of the best minds, brilliant minds working for them. And there's a lot of potential issues that we've discussed here that is going to be a tough road. But I'm reading further into this complaint here that's brought about by this Mr. Sandoval against Coinbase. This one's great right here. Check this one out.
No. Hey, before you get started, I think we might have to start over again because Alex Yeet just showed up.
Oh, Alex Yeet's here. Okay. Hey, Alex, what's up?
Yeah.
Listen to this. This is funny. XRP is a security and not a commodity because Ripple Company, CO, right? It's Ripple Labs, but okay, I'll let you go on that one. Has sole control over the purported cryptocurrency's nodes. No, they don't. And therefore is a common enterprise for purposes of the federal securities laws. No. Investors such as plaintiff invested capital in XRP with the expectation of profit from Ripple Co.'s sole efforts. No, that's not why you invested. So this guy's trying to ride the bandwagon based on the SEC complaint, right? He's driving right in there saying, yeah, because Ripple's, first of all, if you look through the complaint thoroughly, Ripple had no control over the price of XRP. But it's weird how now he's referring to this as XRP, but before he was calling the Ripple token. So Ripple. This person has no clue what XRP or Ripple is or what the validators do, nothing, completely lost.
Stuff like that drives me crazy. I was reading a an article yesterday, a little fuddy article on Gizmodo, and it was the same thing. They start by talking about Ripple, then they go into XRP, then they come back to the Ripple token, and then the logo was the XRP logo with Ripple next to it, and they're so confused. And it just takes a little bit of research to really understand what's going on. And you're right, with the Coinbase thing, it's really just someone jumping on the bandwagon and just trying to get some sort of something out of it. But it's interesting. It really is, that Coinbase is now, I don't want to say delisting, but they're pausing, come January 19th, they're going to, pause the listing of XRP. So you're not going to be able to buy XRP at this point. You can only buy it as a limit order on Coinbase, but now it kind of puts Coinbase in a position where they're going to have to defend that case. But it all goes back to, I think, anyone bringing up Coinbase in a lawsuit and singling them out with the action that they're taking, regarding XRP is, not taking into consideration that they're under a microscope right now by the SEC due to their IPO. So they're trying to go through the final workings of the IPO, and the SEC is sitting there looking at every single thing that they're doing. So that's a major issue.
Well, it's a major issue, and somebody said, "Hey, Roy just popped in. I just saw him. Saw him with the eyes. Eyes going back and forth."
By fast. I must have missed him. I didn't see him.
Well, the problem is we haven't seen him in our chat yet. There he goes. You see, because our chat here is on delay. That's why I have to have them both up. Kind of see exactly what's.
Sometimes it pauses.
Right.
Yeah,
see exactly what's.
At this one over here.
To see exactly, that's what I do. You got to look at that one. You can kind of see it's coming up, and I want to put a comment up, and it's oh no, we can't put that comment up. But yeah, so GDLT is right here. He goes Coinbase. Oh, there we go.
I want to bring it over here. There we go.
Ripple wants to IPO. That's Ripple wanted to IPO, but again, when you look back at the, hang on a second. Let me see if I can pull this puppy up. Now, inside of this complaint, there's a tolling agreement. The tolling agreement suspend the statute of limitations, bypasses that. It's an extrajudicial type of an agreement between two parties. This actually happened in, I want to say, April of 2019, and there was like periods where they had it where it was active, then it wasn't active, then it was active. So there were periods throughout, and it just expired again. I think today, yeah, I think on the 30th. But the point of that whole thing is, when they're talking about these tolling agreements, because a lot of people brought up, well, the statute of limitations is 5 years, and in this case, well, that doesn't really, it's not going to have any holding. And because Ripple, the company, the decentralized company, was attempting to sort of, and there was discovery, right? So all the emails they cite, they didn't just find them someplace or go on the dark web for them. No, Ripple supplied them all. So the people who have it completely wrong, the ones that are saying that Grinch, Jay Clayton, Ronnie was on the way out the door, they filed this. Well, 30 days prior to that, Ripple knew they had the chance to settle. They didn't settle. They had the chance to. They said, no, we're going to go public. We don't want to do this any kind of a settlement. So they went ahead and said we're going to do it. But this has been going on for a long time. You don't craft a 71-page citing emails, crafting your argument all the way up through the process. In a couple of days. And yeah, okay, Jay Clayton was leaving, and the person who was promoted to take his place, guess what, is pro crypto. So there's that, Jeff.
There is that. One of the things that concerns me about, overall about some of the things that are going on right now, as we get into what's happening with Coinbase, you get into really the focus is on the SEC. And that's why really it's like every day there's something new that develops, and it almost stems off of this case that's being the lawsuit that's being presented by the SEC versus Ripple. Because any of the other case, when the SEC went after Kick, or the SEC goes after some of the smaller fish in the pond, it doesn't have the same ramification as the SEC going after Ripple. But now you're starting to see other interesting cases that are almost spawning off of it. Not saying exactly spawning from that, but it's just highlighting the fact that there's more going on. And one of them, there was an article that came up on FX Street, and this one has to do with the U.S. Treasury that is now looking at stable coins as a possible security. And, we've talked about how Rashida Tlaib out of Michigan, Congresswoman, with another representative, was trying to present a bill in front of Congress that would put all of the power of the stablecoin only in the hands of the banks. So basically stifling innovation, and you make it so what company would want to develop a stablecoin? So they have no understanding of what's going on in the space from a technological perspective. That would be, kind of like saying, oh, well, while, the internet when it was in its infancy, oh, maybe we should bring the Internet Explorer browser and let's give it to the libraries to run. Because the libraries obviously know what to do with the Internet Explorer browser, and let them run it. I mean, it just like that's the same idea. Their minds are so puny, that they really don't think very far, and they just say stupid things. And unfortunately, some of the stupid things they say are being presented in front of Congress.
But again, it's what happens when all governments are attempting to do this to some way, right? So they're like, wait, let's take this amazing thing called blockchain and decentralize, and let's figure out a way to centralize it. Let's figure out a way to control it. Let's bring it into home, and that's why you see the whole crypto community going gaga over this over the CBDCs. Let's think about what the CBDC is. It's a centralized so-called digital asset. That's it. It's a central bank digital asset. So who cares? I mean, it's like you're kind of taking its origin and twisting it into something where if you're releasing these CBDCs, it has no worth anymore. So look, I mean, the whole idea is let's keep it. It's like they said the internet, keep it free, keep it open. And for the longest time, there was no taxes. Remember, Jeff, you could buy stuff from Amazon all day long and never got taxed on it. And then the regulators rolled into town. They're like, you know what? I know we said that was a good idea, but I think let me get this glove, and then bend over, right? And then they just right, because it was like I couldn't believe that went on for as long as it did. I'm like, wait a minute, I can buy something tax free just on the internet? This is fantastic.
And Amazon, and they fought it too. They said we're not going to open centers where you're going to try to tax us. We're not going to do it. We're not going to do it. Oh, okay, we're going to do it. And that was that.
That's
you wonder what happened behind the scenes, when they make those kind of statements, similar to what's going on. And someone brought up a point here. I just think it's interesting, but it just made me kind of think. But David over here is saying crypto promoters are huge owners and ramp up Bitcoin at will to puff up interest. But I think about that. It's like all the hype that goes behind Bitcoin. You have people like Warren Buffett that came out and critiques it and criticizes it. Jamie Dimon from JP Morgan came out and criticized it a couple years ago. But then now it's just like everybody's just pushing and promoting Bitcoin, to push it to the next level. And that's why you have, with MicroStrategy, Michael Saylor coming out and investing $1 billion in it. Mass Mutual invested $100 million, and there's company after company, and they're focused on that. But yet, the hype, like you're saying, they're just big hype behind the Bitcoin. But yet, when it came to XRP, all of a sudden the SEC, it was like, oh, well, maybe this one's a security, but let's go after it. And the SEC can't go after Bitcoin. Who are you going to go after? But you can go after Ripple. And then they can really set a tone. The danger of that is, what I was just mentioning, like with the U.S. Treasury going after the stable coin. But then you also have the SEC going after other groups. And it just seems like there's one lawsuit or at least one comment now almost daily coming out of the SEC, like they're ramping up or they're trying to shorten the timeline to something, right? Brian Brooks said regulatory clarity, and in 6 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks from a few weeks ago, putting us at the end of January. And I brought this up before, that it seems like the SEC is trying to clear their dockets of any loose items that might be out there and try to pull everything in. What do you think about that?
Well, here's what I think. Brian Brooks is a badass, okay? And the rest of them are just asses, okay? They're not badasses. They're just regular asses, right? And I would give them, and I don't know, I got this for Christmas. It was a really fun little gift for my oldest daughter. It's a little goat, if you can see that. Cute little bugger, right? But when you press him down, he makes a scream. I don't know if you can tell me if you can hear this.
Okay, right.
Can you hear that?
No.
Okay. He basically makes a scream, which is fantastic. Just a yelling goat, screaming goat. But funny, while we're sitting here, I'm like, I pull up my feed over here, and I'm looking to see what came up. And here's another shocker for us. Let's go through this. Boom. XRP will be delisted from Binance.us effective Wednesday, January 13th. Now, what's odd?
Ooh.
So two oddities, right? So Brian Brooks is the ex-chief counsel for Coinbase, right? He goes over and he gets the tap on the shoulder to then go in and be the comptroller of the OCC, right? So then you look at this and you go, Catherine Coley, who's also a former Rippler, spent 2+ years at Ripple, and then she's the CEO of Binance.us. Now, I don't see Catherine Coley making this call. This one came from above, right? This one did not. No one said you're going to delist it, but they're going to delist it now. Halting trading and everything else. You're not winning any points. Look, you're the new kid on the block. You know, when you looked at Binance at the moment that they had to separate from and create Binance.us, only because there was a lot of pressure being put on them. Binance.us is not have anywhere near the volumes that you see on, let's say, Coinbase or even Uphold or BitTrue or any of the other ones. They just don't. And this isn't a way to influence friends and win support, right? It's like, this does not do you any good, especially coming from an ex-Rippler. It's like, well, read more about it. Oh, come on, I cannot wait to read more about it. What else could they say? Binance users will not be able to deposit XRP as of January. Withdrawals will not be affected this time. XRP withdrawals require a tag memo to learn more about. Okay, so what they're really doing, delisting will not. Well, now why are they delisting it? Why don't they just pause it? Why are they, this whole idea of delisting it, right? Because they delist it, then they got to go through I'm telling you, once this thing is buried, these exchanges that delist it are going to be falling over themselves just because of what's at stake here,
Yeah.
And again, I would like to just kind of like bring this up again. JP Thero, who's the CEO of and co-founder of Uphold, put together a glorious tweet here. He said Uphold hopes that due process and resolution for SEC dispute can set both the goalposts for the offerings going forward, as well as clear the fog bank of uncertainty that was presumably settled over the Stellars and File coins of the world. Now, I love how he's framing that, because he's saying, well, you have the File coin, right? What he's basically saying is the whole market's at stake here. SEC is a line and in the service of protecting consumers and stopping bad actors, but Ripple complaint presents various conundrums. What if punishing the actions of a couple parties not only directly harms our XRP holders, most of whom probably assumed tacit approval after 7 years of inaction, Jeff? 7 years.
Nice. 7 years.
7 years of inaction, right? And then virtually to assure that the U.S. will not be home to Silicon Valley too, by rights the U.S. is to own. Right? You got a company now. So what are they going to do? Chase the $10 billion San Francisco-based company out of the U.S.? Well done. Good job looking out for the consumer, right? So
why not? That's what the SEC is supposed to do. All right, they're supposed to chase out the business.
Yeah. Hey, look at this, Jeff.
Get rid of it. I was about to put that one up there. Let's read that one. That's JCR Central. A big thank you for that. Concerned about possible Tether, Bitfinex, and related litigation by the SEC, New York City Treasury seems likely and very dangerous. Can you explore this, please? And I think this even goes back into the idea of the Treasury going after a stable coin, go after USDT, going after, you just see so much. I mean, the idea behind it, and it just, kind of factors into what we were just saying, chasing the business out of the U.S. because regardless of what happens in the U.S., the rest of the world is still moving forward. China with their digital currency, their centralized digital currency is still moving forward. Japan is getting ready to go into a digital currency format. Sweden with the e-krona, they had another article about that. They're getting closer to a digital currency. And, just over and over and over again, we see so much of it, some centralized, some based on blockchain, some in Europe being built on the Stellar. But Chip, it's really dangerous when the U.S. is and organizations within the U.S. government are taking action that can be not just disruptive to technological growth, but disruptive to economic growth in the U.S. and putting us so far behind that we'll never catch up.
Yeah, and I don't see that happening. I think, if I'm going to play the devil's advocate here, I'm going to look at it from the SEC side, right? So The problem is all of a sudden, 1 minute you hear Bitcoin's new on the horizon 11 years ago, and the next minute, boom, you're heading towards 2020. So I think part of the issue, and Hester Pierce voiced this quite often, to a lesser degree, Jay Clayton, where he kind of stepped around it. But with Hester Pierce, who we affectionately call Crypto Mom, she came out and said that we don't want to get it wrong, right? And so back then, you look back 3-4 years. Look, I can't say that I really blame the SEC, because if you come out with this hardcore regulation and you don't get it right, you look like the goat. And I'm not talking about the greatest of all time here. I'm talking about this goat right here, the screaming little goat.
The screaming one we can't hear.
I know you can't scream. I'm gonna modify that so I can play it through the through a button here, because I like the prop anyway. But it's fun. I can't stop pressing that thing. But what was I saying, Jeff? Where was I? What planet
I don't know,
was I coming from?
but I got caught up on this one with the Canadians. Nothing affects the Canadian XRP holders. I don't know if that's a fact or not, but it doesn't seem. I don't know any of the Canadian exchanges other than the one that went bust. Oh no, wait,
Jeff,
Sologenic.
come on, Jeff.
I forgot about Sologenic. Sologenic.
Yeah. Well, Sologenic, the Solo token is the one.
The Solo token, yeah. That's definitely obviously a great exchange over there. Does this not affect? Oh, that was just duplicate XRP holders. What's interesting though is Coinbase in the UK. It's already been reported that Coinbase in the UK is also suspending trade of XRP. So Coinbase in general, across the board, I don't think they're discriminating. They're suspending the trading of XRP. And again, with Coinbase right now, you can still buy. It's just based on a limit order. There's nothing wrong with putting limit orders on, but you just can't buy market price.
No,
but yet I bought market on Uphold, and I bought limit on Coinbase.
Yeah.
So
I mean, look, this whole thing, they're not going to drag this out for 2 years. I don't think they really don't. I don't think they want to drag it out for 2 years. But I think, it's interesting looking at crypto Twitter and XRP and everything else, because what I'm starting to see is a lot of people starting to come around, and there's people that will be like, you will have to pry that ledger out of my dead, bloody, cold hand, right? They're just like, they're not giving it up, man. They're like, I don't care. You can't shake me. I don't care what happens. I'm gonna go down with the ship, and I'm gonna write it down to zero. I don't care. And look, we put a lot of work and effort into this, throughout the years. And look, we all may hold other digital assets in our portfolio, but XRP certainly has been, it's the one that I have the greatest holding of. But we'll see what do you got there, Jeff?
I was just putting things into context, and I think that that's always a good thing to do, regardless. Even with the bad news that has come out, SEC versus Ripple, XRP is still low on volatility. Yes, it pulled back. You saw a lot of kind of new buy-in. There was a little bit of FOMO pulling the market up in general, but XRP got into the wave and into the current, got pulled up to 50, 60 cents, but not that long ago, if we go back 3 weeks ago, was sitting in the 24 to 29 cent space. In March, Max was saying XRP had dipped down to around 15 cents. And then 12 cents briefly. I think it was really short. And then here, now it dropped down to about 17 cents briefly. It's hovering in the 20 to 22 cent. It's, again, limited volatility. It's reached that stability point. And that's the one thing XRP has always been good at is low volatility. And it's just putting things into perspective. Here's the worst, but obviously it goes to court and we see some outcome that could change things up a little bit as well. But even now, good news, bad news, XRP does what XRP does. It's always an interesting digital asset,
Yeah, so, we how many times do we joke about it here that it's one of our favorite stable coins, right? Because there is very low volatility, unless the SEC throws a complaint out on right before Christmas. Yeah, Farshad Rouhani, what a friend of the show, Jeff. He goes back to early days,
Oh yeah, Farshad.
You want to take that question?
Yeah, let me read that one here. It says, first, thank you for your support. I suggest everyone send your love letters to the SEC. I just did. I called them do nothing government. Yeah, that's basically it. It really is sad, to see kind of what they're doing. But, I guess we have to hold them accountable. Sometimes we get too complacent, and we sit back thinking that the people really have no voice. And in fact, we do have some voice. I mean, now it goes to court. What can we do? But overall, we can rise up. There is a voice.
Yeah,
So,
and how many? So look at it. I mean, yeah, Louis Freely brings it up. Bitcoin has died 390 times. They ruled Bitcoin dead so many times they lost track, but not Louis Freely. He's on top of it at 390. Do I hear 400? And the funny thing about Bitcoin, everyone's like, it's a scam. It's not backed by anything. Nobody knows who created it. Yet it's outperformed the S&P 500 10 years, 11 years in the running now, right? Even though it's died 390 times, which is absolutely fascinating if you think about it. I appreciate that, Louis. And I want to just say a big thanks to Farshad for always, really being a big supporter of the show over the years, man. Thank you very much. Look at this. Funny how thousands of good news stories about XRP and Ripple with no movement, and then one bad little story. And it's not your average bad story, Jeff. It's just the SEC finally, throwing down the gauntlet, right, at Ripple.
That's it.
But, well, you know what? Well, here's what I look at that is, I love, and I've had some friendly debates with some people out there, some folks, some friends, that I've asserted that Brad Garlinghouse and Chris Larson, I'm so glad those two are in the driver's seat, ready to go, right? They might do they might stop the car at a stoplight and then do one of these things where they run around the car and change places. And it could be that they do that, but other people have said, I'm not happy with the fact, if you look through the complaint, how much XRP that Chris Larson sold, up to the tune of 450 million roughly at the time of sale, and Brad Garlinghouse sold roughly about 150 million. And then I would remind everybody to take a look at the Snowflake. Is it Snowflake is the name of the IT company where the CEO earns $100 million a month, which is $1.2 billion. It's an incredible thing. There's tons of stuff out there. And somebody else, I'd put a tweet and there's some debate there. And somebody chimed in and said, man, 450 million is not even enough for a really solid yacht. And let's say,
what are you going to do with that, man? If you have a good yacht, it costs you, 10-20% annually of the cost of it just for upkeep. So you're not getting
the upkeep. And if you have if you're going to go ahead and staff it too, where you have a captain that's on your beck and call, that's on the payroll, and forget about it. So I was like, yeah, they made a really good. Go ahead. You wanted to grab that one?
Yeah, so John, and you know what? It's interesting. I haven't even tried doing a market buy on Coinbase, but I'm assuming that you can't. But there is no limit option on the regular Coinbase app. But you can download the Coinbase Pro app. It's the same login. There's no difference. Right. So you just download it and log in, and it's just it's almost like a regular stock app. With your limits and everything else. So it's real easy to go in and figure out your pairing, and your bank account, everything's already attached to it. Easy to do. But you can also go over to Uphold if you want to buy XRP. Uphold is not suspending anything at this moment, and Uphold is a solid exchange. I've used Uphold for a while. I like it a lot.
Yeah, it is very good. And so look at this one. So Simon Biggerton says, hey, I think Brad Garlinghouse is saying that they won't take a settlement and the fire in the court and win is just posturing to get a better deal on a settlement. That's not how I see it, but I mean, I definitely see that there's the way you're looking at that, Simon. The way I look at it is they had a chance to settle personally, right? And what they would have done, it would have been something similar to what happened with Kick and the Kin token, right? They settled, and what came out of that? Tell me what kind of case precedent that set? Zero. They settled it. They went round and round. The attorneys got rich. They got slapped with a $5 million fine. The same thing would have happened here. Garlinghouse, Larson would have slapped them on the wrist. They would have done that. It would not have changed anything. And in the memo that Garlinghouse wrote to the employees, he cites that, saying no. First of all, these are baseless claims. You're cherry picking stuff out of there. There's a lot of untruths in there, which there are, and it's a lot of it. They keep recycling the same old thing based on assumptions, right? So if one assumption is wrong, everything that comes after that's wrong. It's a unique perspective you're sharing here, Simon. But I'm not sure if I feel the same, Jeff. I don't know. What is your feeling on this? I kind of. Well, I was gonna say. Well, I kind of feel though, and that happens. Trust me, it happens all the time. But I would say that when they want to go fight this thing, they want They want finality, right? They're not getting it. The SEC is not stepping up. They want to know that absolutely there's the line drawn in the sand. It's not a security. Boom, there's the moonshot heard around the world. So your thoughts,
Yeah,
Jeff?
100%. No, 100%. I think that that's what this is all about. You have to get some finality to all of this. And I believe that, the entire motion, everything that's moving in the direction of finality, because without it, and we've been saying for so long, everyone knows without regulatory clarity, the space is at a standstill in the US, but yet FinCEN has come out, right? And they talk about XRP not being a security. Others within the government have hinted at it not being a security. The SEC, though, is the one that really has to make the finality, the final call on it, because they're the ones ruling and regulating. But had this gone in front of Congress, they could have already provided some sort of framework and regulatory clarity and made some adjustment to it. But without that, Congress is always sitting on their hands, and they're, too busy counting the dollars they make for free off the backs of the American people. So, so there's that, but in this scenario, at least now with the SEC moving forward, there's going to be an outcome. Now, like you said, Ripple feels very, very confident in their outcome. And many others have also really addressed that same outcome, the state that it isn't. But if Ripple goes down, there's a lot of companies that are going down right behind it. And there's a lot of countries around the world that are going to be really happy. But I don't even think, if they do rule it as a security, so what? Ripple says, see ya, we've got an office in Japan. Or,
Right
hey,
on.
you know what? We already bought a place over in
Speaking of
Dubai,
Japan,
wherever.
Jeff, speaking of Japan, so Crypto Eddie comes in here and says, people starting to take sides and make an opinion without all the facts. And yes, we need finality. And that's really the boldness that what I like. And when I
like that
read
statement.
the answer from Garlinghouse, I was just like, yes, because they're not going to put up with it. They've been sitting there chiming. They're one of the most transparent organizations out there in the blockchain space, and they're the only ones that I recall that were really yelling for some kind of where's the line here? And this I want to put up because this is what Cryptographer One, as he's noted inside the complaint, but David Schwartz, brilliant mind, says the United States is one of the few countries where regulators will, after years of operating in full light of day and frequently updating on everything you're doing, turn around and tell you that you should have known all along you were breaking decades-old laws all along, right? And I love that because that is so spot on. It's like, well, wait a minute. You didn't tell us where the line is. The whole Howey test is a really thin sort of a way to look at this, and especially when Chris Giancarlo, former FTC, FTC LMNOP, get that always, but he came out and said he probably wrote one of the best opinion pieces that I've seen. That really addresses the whole idea of if it met one prong of the Howey test. Okay, suppose it met two. There's no way it hits all three, and for that reason, there's no way it can be deemed a security. The other problem this is going to create, now this could create another kind of a, as they call it, a conundrum, right? What happens? So you have Vitalik, who's been putting out some fun tweets out there saying, well, taking a shot at XRP and Ripple. You know what? SEC give it, the SEC can take it the way, because if anybody recalls, I think it was Roger Ver, I don't want to, but he thanked an investor publicly in 2014 that said if it hadn't been for your investment in Ether, the company would not have made it. We would not have made it as a project. Gee, that sounds somewhat familiar. So wait a minute, you've already deemed that as not being a security. So you see, like, there's a circular sort of a, round and round that they're going to go, and don't think that for a second that the attorneys aren't going to bring this up, and the fact that the DOJ, Department of Justice, refers to it as a currency. And I say this all the time after reading through the complaint. One of the funniest parts of it is they get on Ripple for not restricting the sale. So in other words, if Ripple went ahead and made it part of a compensation package, if Ripple made XRP or had given it to an exchange or whoever it had sent it out to, they said they turned right around and sold it and they didn't have any restrictions. Well, yeah, you just proved it's a currency. It has a value. You're saying that it has a value, right? And they're mad about it. I'm like, so which is it? Is it a cryptocurrency? If it is a cryptocurrency like Ether, then what are you going on about? What is this, Jeff? I see a little funny emoji up there.
Yeah, look at this one. So I just thought this. I caught it as it was scrolling by. This guy pooed in the cereal, unfortunately, but
Hope it wasn't my bowl, Jeff.
but yeah, it says, is any of this related to Ripple buying back XRP that seemed unusual and announced or noticed earlier this year? What are your thoughts on that?
I'm not aware of the Ripple buyback. I mean,
Yeah,
I've been
I'm not-
I've been hearing people talk about it, but maybe I missed something there. I don't know if you guys want to chime in about that, but I'm not. I keep hearing this whole thing about a buyback. To be honest with you, I'm not 100% sure what is. And look, if you want to see, Miguel Vargas says it best. Ripple's winning this nonsense. Agreed. But I think they have good standing. I think they have everything on their side, right? I mean, I think what we've talked about is there's going to be a fine involved. Definitely going to be a fine, but it's going to be presented as a win for multiple sides, right? So SEC is going to get a win. They're going to fine. They're going to bring on the House, and you did this wrong. And the probably the best theory that I've heard yet that's been voiced by many people, but J.P. Thorough also said it. He said, "Can something be born as a security and metamorphosized into something else?" Yes, it can.
We must have missed it in their financial report. So I'm seeing the conversation over here. It's getting this. Here we go. Sorry. Just want to bring that up. Ripple posted it in their quarterly reports about XRP buyback from the open market.
Oh, you're talking, is the buyback happen when they release a billion escrow and then they have to suck it back in, or I'm not sure. I don't even know. I'd have to look into that. I'd like to read about that. I'll just have to look at their quarterlies.
Yeah.
I don't really review them too much. I haven't anyway, but that's good to know. That's a good one, Apex. If you want to pull up where that is, or that'd be nice to send it off to us.
Yeah.
So I want to say, we always have a lot of new folks joining us. This is from Sean Kelly. He says, "Hey, I'm new to the space, so forgive me if I have terminology wrong." We won't forgive you at all, Sean. Of course we will. Should we as XRP owners be upset as some are about Brad secretly taking those millions and dumping on the market? Lots of people avoiding. Yeah, we have discussed this a little bit. This is something that I think you have to look at where your come from is. If you believe that you come from a point of where you believe that if Brad Garlinghouse was saying hodl, and then he's selling off what the equivalent of $150 million USD, yeah, okay, you might say like, well, yeah, I wish you would just be a little more honest about it. Where Chris Larson said, hey, he was very public about it, saying I'm selling it. Now that might rub you wrong a little bit. I'm not sure. I've never had an issue when I read through the complaint, because there's a lot of goodies in there we didn't know about before. I didn't realize who the third party was or where they were located. It was actually doing when they would release the billion from escrow. So
yeah. So here, Chip. So people, and I think people, they react to certain things that happen in the space, and so I kind of pawn is reacting to that as well. He's mad because Brad said he's long in XRP and then he sold, but he didn't sell everything that he has. He sold whatever percentage. He holds a ton of XRP. I don't know how much he has, but
I do.
Here, Thomas Munn is saying he sold about 60% of his holdings and probably bought BTC. Yeah, I don't know what, if you know the exact number, we can talk about that. But you go to CEOs of companies, you can go to Amazon, you can look at the guys over at Google, you can look at Bill Gates, when it came to Microsoft. A lot of these guys, there's always periods of time where they end up selling shares, and it happens. And you see other corporate, people in the corporate ladder are selling off large amounts of shares, and they have to report it. But
Jeff, I think But I'll say but why don't you address like what he's saying though? I mean, the fact was that he was saying let's hodl strong. In other words, it was kind of like Charlie Lee, right? Charlie Lee is like hodl till the end, and all of a sudden he sold every digital asset he had, right? He's like, I'm out, boom, I don't know, maybe he woke up at like 3 a.m. one day and a weird voice told him sell all. I don't know. But he did something in a sense where he lost a lot of confidence from people in the digital asset. Was it Litecoin? Is that it?
Litecoin?
Jeff?
What about Litecoin?
Charlie Lee, right?
Charlie Lee and Litecoin.
Sold his bag, sold the entire thing, right? But he was also out there saying that. So yeah, I mean, if you want, so addressing that specific point, are we upset the fact that they went ahead and did that? I mean, I'm personally not. But when you say hodl strong and you're out there selling 60% of your bags, it's probably not a good look. I think Larson was a little bit more upfront about it, but I'm not. It's curious to see where you are in this one. Yeah, Charlie lied to us. Yeah, go ahead, take that one, Jeff.
So here we got Mito. Appreciate your support. And Mito, I think you're also relatively new to the channel, but we've seen you on a number of times, so really appreciate it. If Ripple is forced into buying back any tokens, would they have to raise capital to do that? That's a good question. I don't even know. I don't have the exact answer to that to see what kind of cash they're sitting on. They'll sell some XRP to raise some capital to pay it. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is to that. Again, we'd have to go back. We can look at their financial report, pull up their financial report, and actually see what kind of cash holdings they have, and then we can make that determination. I don't know exactly how that would look. Again, if it's going to happen, where we stand right now, I just can't see how they can declare that XRP is a security when XRP is handled all over the world. And other countries have already deemed it a non-security, like Japan and some of the other bigger trade locations where XRP, definitely trades at a higher volume than in the U.S. The U.S. obviously has a big volume, so there's definitely some unknowns here. So again, I'm not sure exactly if we can answer that right away.
It's hard to answer that one, but I think we just go for if you look at regulators, you look at something that would carry a lot of weight. I mean, certainly if you roll in a court going, well, the rest of the world's just blown doors on Ripple, they just don't care. They moved on, and thank God that the rest of the world did that. There's some standing, but as far as U.S. law is concerned, I don't think anyone's really going to care about that. But look at the Department of Justice referring to it as a currency, and then the one that carries probably the most weight, because FinCEN actually went ahead and fined Ripple back in 2013, 2014, and then they audited their books the last 5 years, right? They had to open it up. So they realized, they made a misstep. They squared it away, but they knew once FinCEN came down on them and started auditing their books, they knew exactly what they were supposed to do. And this is exactly what Brad Garlinghouse and the rest of the Ripple team has been saying. Look, there's no clarity. We're guessing at the moment. We're going back to a Howey test and the Securities and Exchange Act of 1933 and 1934. I mean, come on. I mean, Christ, that's almost like 90 years later, right?
Yeah, dude. Here's a good one. The mark. And this really is a great point. He said, guys, you have to look at it through their lens. Brad and Chris see XRP as a currency and not a security. And that's the key. And throughout the whole, every aspect of it. So if they're looking at it as a currency, even their selling of it, it's a currency. They want to, we don't know what they're doing with their stake. If he sold 450 million, maybe he did want to run out and buy a yacht. Who knows what he's doing with that 450 million? Who knows what they're investing into, outside and above and beyond. He takes 60%. He looks around and he goes, I could sell this amount. I can take 450 million out and still have a huge stake. And still, when it goes up, we'll have, huge amounts of cash. So I think you look at it from that perspective. You can't, when you're in that position as well, and you can't always continuously rely on the future, if you're going to take that money out and do something else with it. So it's really hard to judge. And so I think that brings up, just a great point in terms of how they're looking at it.
Yeah, I was actually trying to pull out of the complaint some of the things, but right here they talk about the so these are all the sales for that they pull into a chart. They're saying that the individual defendants, this is Larson's sales, 1.7 billion, right there, and then they this is Garlinghouse, 321 billion, but the asterisk means that it was counted in other XRP distributions only. So there's that, and then also if you look up here, it does talk about that too. April 2017 through December 2019, while an affiliate of Ripple as a CEO, Garlinghouse sold over 321 million XRP he had. But that's XRP, that was roughly 150 million USD. But anyway, there's that. And he also received XRP as part of compensation, but guess what? so did other people. It wasn't just him. It wasn't like he was the only one. But I don't think that's here nor there. If we break this down to the merits of the case about what this is really about, alleging that it's a security. Now, they could have said early days it was a security. There's also a potential issue of the fact that when you look back at early days, and we're going back 2012, 2013, you look at the fact that back in the day when you had when the validator nodes were controlled by Ripple, right?
Yep.
But recently that amendment was passed, I think a couple months ago, where the Ripple validator voted no, and guess what happened? Everybody else voted yes, so it became, and this is where, Jeff, you had brought this up, where David Schwartz was talking about the hypothetical if the validators came up with an amendment that wanted to burn the 50% supply, the 50 billion, they could, right? I mean, wasn't he simply saying that that was a potential possibility?
It's definitely a possibility. It was interesting when it came out. So as you start adding up all the pieces, you talk about the buyback, you talk about that type of a statement. They don't have full control over the escrow, I think, is a very important statement. And then the fact that, and it would require a supermajority. So you need 80% of the validators to vote to burn. I guess there's an open question. DNI had brought this up in some comments on another video, but can you burn if you have everything trapped in escrow, you have $1 billion released every single month, you can vote to burn it. Maybe you burn everything as it comes out every month. $1 billion comes out of escrow, you burn it. And every month you're going to burn for the next 50 months. Or can you automatically just release everything and just burn it? Can you burn it out of while it's sitting in escrow? I don't know. That's something DNI was saying you can't do that. So you'd have to wait as it's released every single month, but it still has the same impact. That unless they vote to, turn that around, it's going to keep burning. But the point, I guess the final point on that is that it's just the statement that Ripple doesn't have full control over that escrow like everybody thinks. It's like, hey, they're dumping $1 billion. And there were statements. Remember when they started with the escrow, was it about 2 years ago? They came out with the whole idea of the escrow because it looked like they had too much control over it. And so they put everything in escrow, and then they started releasing $1 billion. Everyone's like, oh, Ripple's dumping $1 billion XRP on the market, and they're, artificially, influencing the price point. But in fact, they would release $1 billion and they might only use 100 million and they'd put 900 billion back into escrow. And that happened every single month. So
right.
Just another shout out here from Stormbound 2012 is what BG did would be considered is what he did. Could it be considered insider trading? And should Ripple release control of the escrow or burn the escrow? I think it's kind of along the lines. I don't know where that came up in the line of conversation, but could Brad Garlinghouse be considered insider trading? How do you inside trade on something that's not a security if it's a currency? Did he influence and impact the pricing of the asset? And did he sell knowing that the asset was going to go up or down? So I guess that would be, could that be the definition of insider trading? Something's going to happen that's going to impact the price, but nothing they do can impact it. It doesn't seem to impact the price.
No, you're right. But I think there's a reason. Now, Storebound, if you had actually read the complaint, because this is interesting, because in the complaint itself, I can kind of see that the SEC is sort of tap dancing around this a little bit. They bring up things along the lines of Ripple timed sales on the release of news. Sometimes they don't go into specifics, but they said at times Ripple timed it on announcements or certain sort of events, the timing of the sale. The bottom line is that they have an email by Brad Garlinghouse where he says he's asking a question to two other people in the company saying, is the dumping of the escrow every month, is that potentially negatively affecting the price of XRP? He's asking the question, but I look at that as looking out for XRP is very valuable to the success of Ripple, right? But asking that kind of question leads me to believe that they're more interested in XRP being surviving and doing well versus what their own corporate, because it wouldn't serve them well in their corporate goals, right? So I see the SEC bringing this up, and the first thing I think is, well, what do they bring this up, about? And Jeff and I even talked about this. We're like, are they hinting at that they did something wrong? Because when you're a corporation, your bottom line is to make as much money as possible. When you're selling, and you're going to time it around an event, it may or may not happen. But in the community, someone brought it up earlier back in March, back when it went down to 0.12 and jumped back up to 0.17. Our stability, we get stuck in those fluctuations of 3 cents, right? 19 to 21, 21 back to 19. Then it was like 20, 29, 30, 30, 29, 28, and it was like back and forth. For the most part, it's not very volatile at all.
Yep. Hey, so this is interesting. There's another topic, and then there's another super chat that came in that we'll get to. Actually, before we go to this one, before we go to Giuseppe, James M. So I don't want to lose this with Giuseppe, so I'm just going to read James M. He said, "Can anybody help me? Before it's delisted, should all my Xrp be placed in a ledger? What happens if I just keep it on Coinbase?" And I just wanted to address that one real quick. Then we're going to go to Giuseppe, and then there's another super chat that I want to jump into. But I want to bring up the blog directly from Coinbase, and here, talking about, the suspension. So the suspension of trading on Coinbase will be January 19th. And I think it's important you look at what their words are as it stands right now. Now, would it be safer on the ledger? If you put it onto the ledger, then obviously you're not relying on what Coinbase may or may not do after the fact. But what they are stating is the trading suspension will not affect customers' access to XRP wallets, which will remain available for deposit and withdrawal functionality after the trading suspension. Further, customers will remain eligible for the previously announced Spark airdrop, subject to approval in the different jurisdictions. And we will continue to support XRP on Coinbase custody and Coinbase wallet. So as it stands right now, based on today, based on the 28th, when they dropped this blog post, yes, you can keep it on Coinbase and you can still access your wallets even after January 19th. Now, to be, completely, safe and transparent about it, maybe you'd be safer on the ledger. I don't know. That's something you have to do. But either way, I think Coinbase, they can't just all of a sudden January 20th say, hey, by the way, that's it. You have no access to your wallet. They're going to still give you a buffer if they decided that, hey, we're now delisting it, so now you'll have no access to the wallet. Then they're going to give you a period of time. And there's been other cases where digital assets have moved. I lost Sia Coin because Sia Coin moved from one platform to the next, and I just wasn't paying attention, and I lost the Sia Coin I had, and so stuff like that happens. But all right, to this one, and
let me grab this one right here. Yeah. Okay. So thank you, Tommy Sotomayor's mama. So that's funny because that looks just like Tommy Sotomayor with some lipstick on, and I'm like, okay, that made me laugh. That's pretty funny. The future is here. Imagine a world where panhandlers hold up signs with QR codes begging for crypto. Can I be a mod? Bam! He comes in right. Just listen, Tommy Sotomayor's mama. I want to just first of all thank you for the contribution to the show, and I want some proof that you're Tommy Sotomayor's mama because I'm a little bit in doubt right now, but the lipstick looks nice, I gotta say though. But I'll tell you what, you should keep showing up here, man, and supporting the show. And generally when we give a mod out, it has to do with in our kind of rule set is like people that kind of show up real consistent and also are going to be able to moderate. We had a scenario where we had a show going on and we didn't have any mods in there, and it can get crazy right away. But yeah, are we open to it? We definitely are open to it. So keep showing up, keep coming and supporting, and that's how you do it. But that's how we roll around here. So
hey Chip, just before you go on, I just want to give a quick shout out, and then we got to go over to that Giuseppe thing because I think it's really interesting. Let me just give a quick shout out.
Come on, man, Berserker.
Berserker. Berserker's here.
Berserker is in the room here somewhere. All right, so let's check this out. I think this is kind of interesting. But what if the U.S. government is exploiting this lawsuit to reduce Ripple's control over their tokens and that allows the government to finally use XRP as the DLT they are looking for to replace SWIFT.
The government's not that bright. That's my first thing I'm going to tell you. Is they're not that bright. They can't get out of their own way to do positive things in the world. Could it happen? Yeah. I mean, everything's fair game. I mean, to me, I don't know if they're thinking that far ahead. Like you had Steve Mnuchin came out and said, they're talking about this new with FinCEN about regulatory sort of clarity around self-custody, right? If you have a ledger or an LPAL or something, you want to self-custody. Well, what the normal period to kind of like digest it and provide feedback is 90 days. Well, when did they choose to do this? They chose to do it over the 2-week holidays here, and it was 14 days versus the standard 90 days. It looks like they're trying to rush that through, and I think when the government does stuff, it's usually pretty obvious. Now, could that happen? It certainly could.
Hey, I'm back. I just got knocked off for a second.
That was weird. I didn't even notice, Jeff, until you came back with a bam.
Was I frozen?
So I don't know. No, I don't even know. I was too busy talking and looking at Tommy Sotomayor's mama. So, but anyway, why don't you please kind of continue here? Like, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, is that a potential possibility?
Man, we've heard a lot of people talking about, this possible, reset, the global reset of currencies and everything. I find the timing of everything interesting as we're moving towards regulatory clarity. I find it interesting that you see the governor of the central bank of Russia came out recently and made a statement that cryptocurrencies may replace SWIFT, and basically stating that SWIFT has now moved into being irrelevant, that the digital asset, digital currencies can really create an entire environment where trade can take place without SWIFT and circumvent. I believe that even if you have one digital asset, there's still other factors involved. And one of the main purposes of SWIFT, when they brought SWIFT into being, was having a common language, a common messaging language in order to fulfill transactions. I still believe today that's still critical, because if I'm sending money to your bank over in England now, if based on that statement, we can say, hey, we're getting rid of all banks. However, you still need a third party to fulfill the trust aspect of a transaction. Now, that third party could be automated. That third party could be an exchange, but there still has to be a mechanism within that third party that's allowing for certain things to happen. That third party can then also transact through a smart contract. So, could all of this stuff be orchestrated a little bit differently? Could Ripple and the Ripple network, become that third party? I believe we're still years away from banks changing the dynamics of what banks are. I still think, at the end of the day, people have more confidence in a third party protecting them, meaning that the banks are protecting your holdings of your money, so you're not self-reliant on whether or not you buried your gold under, this stone or that stone, or whether or not you have your ledger in this drawer, or did I put it in a safety deposit box so I can't find it anymore. I think, at the end of the day, people want that protection, and you can only get that through a bank, whether, again, that bank is a Coinbase exchange or JP Morgan. But when it comes to replacing SWIFT and the governments, one of the statements has also then been that the governments aren't going to invent anything. They're not going to develop anything. They're going to either buy or take over or use something that's already in development, something that's already proven. So then as you go to Ripple, and that's why I think this is really interesting, as the intricacies of it, but Ripple has already proven that it is a solid solution, right? The RippleNet solution is definitely sought after. It's definitely, proven itself. The fact that they have the ODL, it's a very important technology. Now, are they the end all be all? Can we have, some other company, called Wave come up, and Wave's solution is so much better than Ripple? They outdo them, or they, compete, and Ripple kind of goes the way of the dinosaur, or we have an Apple, Microsoft type of rivalry or a Burger King McDonald's type. We need that type of rivalry. Swift is going to go away the way of the dinosaur, but then the governments also want to maintain some semblance of control over who can move money and who can't move money. So that's the other dynamic that I think we have to focus in on, Chip. I really think that one of the reasons why Russia is talking about the digital asset is because they also want to circumvent SWIFT. They don't want to have embargoes based on them, right? Iran doesn't want embargoes. China doesn't want. All these rogue nations are saying, hey, maybe we should do it this way, because at the end of the day, if we impose a sanction on them, we do it through SWIFT, and we shut down transactions via SWIFT, which shuts down their international trade. So that element of it.
Nobody votes to go appear in front of the firing squad. They want to have some kind of a control over it. So I want to say a big shout out, big thank you to Brandon Hinkle. He says, don't you think the timing of all this is questionable? Jay Clayton does this and retires the next day. You think he might have loaded up on XRP? A lot of people have said that. I think it's interesting to see that might have been the case. But let me share something with you that kind of leads me to believe that it is sneaky, the timing, but I think it happened in that sense because the person who was promoted to replace Jay Clayton, and his name eludes me because I just don't have it on the tip of my tongue, is pro-crypto, right? You have Hester Pierce, pro-crypto. Jay Clayton, not pro-crypto, right? But if you look at this, so inside of the tolling agreement, this is inside of the, let me just pull this down so we can see this here for a second. The tolling agreement is an extrajudicial sort of an agreement that basically bypasses any statute of limitations. So if you look here, it says the tolling agreement, Ripple and the SEC entered in the applicant statute of limitations from April 1 to 2019 through June 30th. Well, what does that tell us? So that kind of gives us a little bit of insider trading here, or insider look, I would say, an inside look. So now if you go back to April through June of 2019, you saw there's a lot of discovery, right? They didn't just hack into, SEC didn't hack into Ripple's emails. They asked for the emails, right? They requested them. And why you see so many dates, because this was an ongoing thing, right? So they came to him and said, hey, by the way, let's have that tolling agreement where there is no statute of limitation, right? Because it puts a pause on that. But you see that it happened timing July 7th. Through September 7th, then again so you see it happen all through 2019, and then we start seeing it crank up again in June 2020, June 8th and June 9th. So why would they have it for this particular period of time, right? There's a number of different and we can speculate a lot, but when you start looking at periods, there's conversations going on. There might have been potential talk about some sort of maybe a settling, and they want that agreement to be valid so that that's not a problem in looking at this and just bypassing the statute of limitation. So this goes from June 9th all the way through December 9th, 2020, and then from December 10th through to 24th, right? And we know that this was filed on the 23rd. Well, what that says, we might look at this as saying, okay, yeah, the timing is very suspicious, Brandon. No doubt. The timing is suspicious, but the fact that there was this going on way back in 2019, if they're already doing a tolling agreement and they're suspending any sort of issues with statute of limitations, which is 5 years, and then we looked at that ruling as well from 2013, there's a reason they're looking at that. There's something going on, maybe a conversation, and a reason I believe, and this is just my personal opinion, I want to hear from Jeff on this one, but the reason that I believe that they halted it, that they went ahead and filed it, was because Jay Clayton was leaving, and they knew 30 days ago Ripple had known that this was going to go public, and in that memo to the employees, Garlinghouse says, hey, we chose, Chris and I chose not to settle this personally. And why would they? Nothing would happen. They would get fined massively, and we'd still have no clarity or any precedent, right? So the timing had to do with him leaving, because his tenure was supposed to go into next year, past the first quarter. I believe it was like March, April, May, something like that. And I think he was shown the door a little bit earlier. Okay, so I think, and as I've stated many times, don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you. So that's what he was on the way out. So that's my thought. Jeff, what do you think about this? What are your thoughts about the questionable timing?
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think that was the last say. It was in the doc. You know, it was something that they were getting ready to do. But I also believe that it goes back to regulatory clarity. Everything needs to line up in a certain timeline. And so, you know, granted, you know, we're looking at a case February 22nd, but maybe they also thought they were going to settle. Maybe if they thought there was going to be some sort of a settlement, they would have got settlement. They would have all agreed on, hey, you pay this. It's not a security. We do this, you do that. It's over, and you move on to regulatory clarity. So maybe they didn't anticipate the fact that they didn't settle. You know, who wouldn't settle? You know, why would you not settle? It's very disruptive, and now we're seeing the disruptive nature of it. So maybe it's, you know, as we dig into this and think about it, maybe they made a mistake by not settling. I mean, you know, but I agree with you. You know, if the settlement was just, hey, you pay a fine and that's it, then you get nothing out of it. But if it's, hey, you pay a fine and we declare it a non-security, then, you know, maybe this whole thing is a moot point, or maybe it's also they want to clear themselves over this whole thing. You know, maybe you definitely get a lot more out of it, because at the end of the day, they do set case precedent over, you know, when they do get settlement. So, you know, at the end of the day, so maybe that's even more critical, and they know, you know, maybe they're so confident that they're going to come out of this on top. I mean, there's so many different ways of looking at this.
There is, but I think ultimately they need clarity, man. They're tired of like wondering where the line in this, you know, is drawn. They want to know. And look at this, boom, in pops Venture. And I want to do a shout out, but we were just on a roll. What's up?
Oh, sorry.
What are you doing? We're flashing it. XRP Venture, who is, I think, appeared 4 times on the roundtable. We'll have to get him back in here. Good to see you here, man. And he has a really important question, Jeff. He wants to know the airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow. I like the new format, guys. Nice, really cool. By the way, I know that, Jeff. Do you want to take a stab at it? If you wanted to know the unladen,
you know, I was thinking about that, but I for some reason I can't. I know I can't remember it. I don't know why.
Yeah, well, it's approximately 24.
Movies.
Yeah, it's 24 miles an hour, I think is what it is. 24, 11 meters a second. But that's a great question. Man, thanks for bringing the questions, you know, and anytime you can take us off topic, Venture, that's always a good thing as well, right? I mean, bringing us off topic is always a badass sort of a thing. And
is he carrying a coconut?
Yeah, he's carrying a coconut. Or a totanut, if you can't pronounce your C's, you know what I mean? A totanut, which happens sometimes. So there you are. So thank you, man. Appreciate that. Let's see. Come on. You got any other questions, Venture? Why don't you chime in on this? I'm curious to get your take on this. Throw it up there and we'll look at it. So Will Cass says, hey, with Brad Garlinghouse selling to institutional investors at a discount between 4 and 30% below market price, doesn't that screw us as retail investors? Is that why XRP price stayed stagnant for so many years? SEC page 18. Man, I like you putting that page 18 in there, because then I can go right to it. We can pull it up and we can workshop this.
Pull that up.
Yeah, we'll pull it up. Yep, it's page. It's
18 of 5,000.
Yeah.
Oh, no, 71. That's right.
Yeah, 71. I got it.
Wrong document.
Okay, I've got it right here. Let's see. Is that it? Yep, here it is. Here it is. Here it is. Let's see. There it is. Okay, so let me share my screen here.
Legendary by the husk. Oh, good.
Yeah, so we'll have to like temporarily pause that puppy right there.
There we go.
What did it say? Yeah, right here. So discounts between 4% and 30% of the market price. Look, they sold at discounts, but they were buying in bulk. You know, if you ever go to the if you go to the store and you get 5, like if you buy 1, it's 1 price, but if you get 3, you know, you buy 2, you get 1 free. But look, this is just how business works, right? So there's going to be discounts. One of the things that the SEC says later in here, in the side of this complaint, is they go after the fact that they didn't set any conditions on it, right? So they were buying at a discount, right? They're buying this at, let's say, a 30% discount. You don't get a 30% discount if you're spending, you know, $100. It's not going to happen, right? And the fact of the matter is that these, it's in here somewhere else. I don't know if they cite it right around here, but they did. Let's see, Ripple Agent, yeah, yeah. I'm not necessarily see that, but they did talk about the fact that, you know, whoever bought it, or institutional side, they went ahead and usually immediately, because if you spend $10 million, you spend $1 billion, you spend whatever, and you buy it at 30% discount, you sell it, you made 30% on your money, right? But there's always that investment. There's always that volatility. XRP is not that volatile, but suppose you buy it and then you get a 30% drop in the marketplace. Uh-oh. Then what do you do? And some of them did hold it for some period of time. Jeff, why don't you weigh in on this? What are your thoughts?
Hold what?
The fact, well, let me go back to Will's right here.
There we go.
Yeah, between 4 and 30% below market price. He's asking, doesn't that screw us as investors? Is that why the XRP price stayed stagnant for so many years?
That's such a another difficult question to answer, because we look at it like it was limited volatility, but were the institutional buyers really buying in large volumes? Were they getting the discount, so they were trying to get them to utilize? They wanted implementation at the time. I think the one element of all of this, Chip, that we focused in on early on was, without utility, there's no price movement. If there's price movement without utility, it's based on FOMO and speculation. So Bitcoin is increasing in value mainly because of FOMO and speculation, and it's a store of value and nothing else. People are looking to put their money someplace because of a lack of confidence in fiat currency, based on some of the troubles that we're seeing. But what is it based on? I mean, what's the full purpose of it? So it's Bitcoin. One of my premise, regardless of what's happening outside of that, if you're FOMOing in, and at the initial step with the big corporations is to go to Bitcoin, the smaller corporations are going to look to something else that might be, as valuable, which would be Ethereum, and then XRP, and then still Litecoin, and then whatever's in that top 5 category. There's obviously a lot of projects out there, but I do believe, though, at the end of the day, it all goes back in the early days, again, was focused on utility. We talk so much about utility, and you're not going to get utility without regulatory clarity. And how many times have we discussed that? Regulatory clarity is critical in the space, because without that, even the RippleNet solution can't be rolled out the way it needed to be rolled out in the US, because banks and financial institutions, I believe, were still not willing to embrace ODL due to the fact that there was uncertainty as to whether or not it was a security or not. So, this conversation has been going on for a couple years. It's not a brand new conversation that just popped up because the SEC is suing Ripple. There's been uncertainty about it being a security or not a security because it's already been brought up, right? And that's where, we talked about, FinCEN and some of the others have already stated that it's not a security, but there's still that unknown variable. And without the regulation, without the clarity in the space in general, and that's why the SEC came out again with Bitcoin and Ethereum. But even the statement on Ethereum, they said in the beginning stages, Ethereum could well have been a security, but it's not a security any longer. So why not apply that same, rule of thought or train of thought to XRP? The only reason why they're not doing that goes back to the other conversation about the government control and the banking. And Ethereum doesn't have they're not trying to displace Swift, which has been in business with a conglomerate of banks of 10,000 units since 1974. But Ripple is trying to displace that. So think about, and this always goes back to power, control, and money. And so what are they trying to do? They're trying to take away the money. They're trying to diminish the control and take away the power of Swift and the banks that are part of the Swift network. Swift isn't just some code. It's an organization that is owned by the banks, right? It's a conglomerate. So I think that is a very critical element in this overall conversation. So there's so many other variables. If you separate XRP out of everything, XRP on its own, just like Bitcoin, will increase in value. But I think being that it's still tied to a financial entity, meaning that it's being utilized to move money and it's been identified as such. It's like the conversation of tissue or Kleenex, right? Everybody still refers to a tissue as Kleenex, even if it's from another
Not me.
manufacturer. Well, except for you, but everybody else in the world, but here, it's, you're still thinking XRP, you think Ripple. That's just how it's going to be. There's a lot of other products on the market today. When you think that product, you think the original manufacturer of that product. If you go to North Carolina, I've been told that every product, every soft drink is Coke. So it's like, hey, I want a Coke. Which kind of Coke do you want? Sprite. Right. So,
Well, I don't know if that's a good.
Is that a good one? I don't know. I don't know if that's the best way of explaining it.
I wanted.
There's a lot going on.
So I saw Maxwell's equation saying, hey, I'm holding, not selling, but not happy about the R3 lawsuit, the FinCEN lawsuit, now the SEC lawsuit. It's just a bad pattern. Hopefully, this is the last of the lawsuits of some time of these magnitudes. I will say this, I've been on both sides of it. I've lived out of a car, my youth. I've lived out of a car in an area where I heard frequent gunshots, and I've lived in a small little place that was just like a cot. And then I've had better times in my life, and I've kind of, it's a roller coaster of life. And what I will say to you is that when you're a company and you're making a lot of money and you're doing things right, you don't even know what it's like to be successful until you start experiencing those lawsuits, right? Having a company, being a startup, starting to get a lot of success, and then boom, here comes a lawsuit. They're unfounded. Some you got to go defend. Some of them you get dismissed. But look, the R3 one, that was more like a bad blood personal thing, and Katow jumped in and had to stop that one. He's like, guys, stop it, okay? There's no love lost for R3 hating Ripple, and maybe vice versa. And maybe that's why they moved on to some other, in their core to settler, moved on to some other technologies. But I don't necessarily view it as a bad thing. It's like people complain, they go like, oh my God, if you knew how much I paid in taxes. Hey, sometimes in life there's good problems to have. And when you start having lawsuits and there's people that are coming after you, that means you're doing something. And there's always going to be people coming after you. If you look at the amount of lawsuits that are filed against Amazon every year, against Apple, they have divisions that just handle these lawsuits, class action suits. So yeah, there was one company that I got purview of. They had 28 attorneys on staff, and it's probably a company you guys don't know. It's more like in the financial realm, and that's all they did was litigate stuff. That was the whole division. Or they went after people, which is kind of what the SEC is doing. So I know it can be disappointing, and you're thinking to yourself, oh no, not another one. Now it's the big lion. It's the SEC. But hey, a lot of people can make allegations. You got to go ahead and prove it in the court of law, right? Or you can settle for it. But I really don't think the SEC, as its main fiduciary to protect consumers, and that's their, and also look out, because they're looking out. That's why they regulate these companies, public companies, because they're trying to protect people. So if the CEOs or the chief financial officer secretly taking a little bit of stash under the table, that ultimately is going to hurt the consumer. And they're not looking out for the consumer, as far as I can tell. Be interesting if the judge says, so exactly what are you doing to protect the folks that are XRP holders?
The SEC,
right?
Nothing. They're not doing anything.
Nothing.
So check this out. So Chi-Town, XRP. I always figured Ripple would be digital sanctions because countries use BTC to circumvent the dollar for goods and services. But this goes back to that same premise that with SWIFT, when you place sanctions, the U.S. government and other governments go to SWIFT and say, hey, you're not allowing Russia to move money. Iran can't move money anymore. Why? Because SWIFT is the mechanism. Can there be other ways? Well, you know what? You can put, a couple $1 billion on a boat and you can go deliver it in unmarked bills and hand deliver it to Iran. But that's one way of doing it. But yeah, and this is where I still, it goes back to, you guys have brought up so many great points, but RippleNet, R3, all these types of organizations that are getting involved in moving money cross-border with digital payments. The main criteria of all of this that we seem to forget about is the technology, the interoperability, the speed of settlement, and the transparency. Now, if you want to have an entity that's involved in moving all of these digital assets, doesn't matter if it's a digital yuan that's 100% centralized out of China, or it's the e-krona, or if it's the seashells or the sand dollars, or if it's
like seashells.
Whatever digital asset it is, it all can transact and move through the XRP ledger. And it doesn't need XRP to use that technology. The ODL aspect of the technology is the game changer. All of the banks know it. All of the banks want to get their money that's just sitting millions upon millions of dollars that are sitting in Nostro Vostro accounts in banks all over the world so they can seamlessly settle transactions. They want to pull that money back to become more liquid. What is the one issue that we're going to have right now that we move into probably in 2021 is going to be a liquidity issue with money based on the fact that there's so much money that the governments are trying to push into society. I think that we're going to just see, some major issues that, in the near future. So, but there was somebody just dropped something here. There it is.
Stormbound, boom, Stormbound 2012. Thank you for the support. Appreciate that. He wants to know if Brad Garlinghouse paid banks to use XRP, but banks not using it because it was too expensive. While Brad Garlinghouse did tell retail investors they were partners in using XRP.
I don't remember him ever saying that they were using XRP. I think that they were very, as far as I'm aware, we could go back and see. But, for instance, I think there was a little bit of flack that there were some conversations over MoneyGram. And MoneyGram, whether or not they were utilizing ODL or not utilizing ODL, they were not using ODL when it came to consumer payments. However, they did utilize ODL when it came to foreign currency exchange. So there was they were using the RippleNet, they were using ODL. It just wasn't in the movement to the retail customer. And so there MoneyGram, there's other things going on, behind the scenes, but they're utilizing the XRP ledger, the foreign currency exchange component of the ledger, and the ODL. And they state that, they came out in a PR release because MoneyGram came out and said that they have nothing to do with the SEC lawsuit, and they're taking a a hands-off approach to it.
Yeah, and also too, I'm not sure if well, you say Brad Garlinghouse. I mean, it probably would have been him personally, but I think your point is, did Ripple actually pay banks to use XRP? From what I've seen in the complaint, I don't think so, because one of the things they do cite is that they cite an email that Garlinghouse had sent. It was an exchange they were trying to get on for over a year, and then they finally wrote an email like, hey, would $1 million cash payment, flip the scales, or something to that effect. I'm paraphrasing right there. I don't remember what his exact euphemism was, but the idea was that they did pay exchanges, and that's listed in here. Now, if I don't recall seeing anything in here about paying banks to use XRP, but Ripple is really in the software business. RippleNet, XVIA, Xrp, all of these early systems. And even the SEC says, well, you guys, your first two product rollouts. And first of all, they didn't use blockchain, and second of all, they didn't use XRP. So they were but again, what they were trying to do was go up against Swift and trying to give people, they didn't want to force them into use this new system. And they also talk about how much money they derive from these software sales, what the installations, how much they made over a period of time from partners. It's in the millions of dollars, 20-some million dollars, something like that. Just for maybe 1 year period. So as they were fueling this money through the system, I don't think they ever paid banks, and I don't think banks even knew what XRP was. Now, if Ripple approached them and said, "Hey, we have ODL, on-demand liquidity. What's this going to do? It's gonna have, you're going to be able to get rid of those Nostro Vostro accounts." Oh, fantastic! And on top of it, you can still charge a lot of money, but you can do real-time settlement. Whoa, wait a minute, because that's what banks want them to do, is they want to make money. I doubt some of the banks, they could have got into it in a PowerPoint presentation like, hey, this is how it works, and by the way, we use a digital asset called XRP, which allows us to move it 3 to 5 seconds from point A to point B, and it costs you a few pennies. Yep. And they might have just glossed right over it. So I don't necessarily think any banks really were ever involved in the XRP side, but that's just my feeling, Jeff. I don't know where.
Well, here's another thought, and I know I brought this up to you before, but there was some political statements that came out of Brad Garlinghouse that we weren't too fond of. And I also see some of this action against him personally is a big slap, because they're slapping him back into his place and saying, stick to your financial space and don't get political. To me, that's also a component of it. So if I look at it from that perspective, I don't really care too much about Brad Garlinghouse. Personally, he's leading the company. I think he's done an overall good job with the company. I think he should have kept his political opinions to himself and stayed focused on building the company. And to me, that is a little bit detrimental to him. But there's things that happen in this space, financially, economically, and politically, that you really have to walk a fine line. And I think David Schwartz also got himself tied up a little bit in that conversation, because, as you know, we had multiple Twitter conversations going back and forth on some of their political opinions, and they really should have kept that to themselves. It was detrimental, and we might be seeing the ramification of them standing out politically. One of the things that they're also trying to do, they took a stand against Bitcoin from being too heavy on the power consumption and trying to single out XRP as a non-heavy power consumption product. And I said, as soon as they came out and said stay away from the green conversation. It's not gonna behoove you. You're going to distance a large percentage of people, and those large percentage of people happen to be in politics and economics. So you have to be very, very careful and walk a fine line in this space. And so that, to me, this could have something to do with it. I don't know.
Yeah, Crypto Eddie chimes in here and says, again, paying exchanges to be listed was standard practice, especially in 2016 and 2017, and even in 2018. Yep. Many articles in the past, as the amounts of the exchange were asking. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. That's
a good point. Yep.
Right, but the way it's almost alleged inside of this complaint is, whoa, I mean, they were paying exchanges. Well, guess what? Everybody was. There were very few exchanges. There's a lot of work that has to go on behind the scenes, right? There's a lot of people think you just go ahead and add that. It shows up on a page, you click a button, you buy it. There's a lot of infrastructure that has to go on behind that. And guess what? Who's going to incur the cost of that? There has to be fees. And look, these exchanges make some exchanges charge more on each sale than others. But look, they're in business to make money, and if they're going to go do an integration, they're not going to absorb the cost of it. So that's a really good point that Eddie's making here, is the fact that this was common practice, and it wasn't just XRP. Everybody paid for the listing, and the fact that they bring that up in the exchange is.
Say that.
She agrees with me too, Jeff. She didn't just put it down there. That's all. Did you see the one where she put up earlier and said, "I agree with everything Chip said"? But now she says she put that in to make you feel good. No, she didn't say that. I'm just joking.
I know.
I'm just joking. I'm just joking. No, I agree with Jeff. Which part? I mean, I'm not sure exactly which one, but no, I mean, who knows? That's what I hate, the delay in this thing. It's always hard to.
I'm trying to follow the conversations as they flow.
Well, this is something good to put up. Connie says, hey, please hit the like and subscribe notification. It's your first time here. Go ahead and why? What do you have to lose, man? You're having fun. You're hanging out with your crypto fam. Go ahead and click that subscribe button. Click that little notification bell. And if you're extra curious, we have another channel where we upload videos. And Jeff put another killer video up today. I've been a little bit slacker. I've been just enjoying a little bit of my downtime, and I've been working like a dog every single day. So I'm like, I'm totally off this week. Didn't work out that way, Jeff.
Man, can you only believe it's only been 37 minutes since we started streaming?
Say what? No, that's not true. Not at all. Okay, look at this. Jeff, I respectively disagree. We can sit down on the sidelines nitpicking what Brad Garlinghouse says politically, but he's a well-seasoned CEO and understands why he's saying it for what he's saying, specifically so that it is. See, dude, I mean, this is the whole thing. That's why I love it, because you don't have to agree with it. That's just our opinion. Sometimes Jeff and I don't agree. It's rare, but it's really rare that we don't disagree. But I have to side with Jeff on this one. When you're running a company, you got to stay. You're going to make somebody angry, right? You're either going to make this side angry or that side. It's always kind of better to be in the middle of the road. And this is one of the things where I like the CEO approach at Coinbase. And his name escapes me. Go ahead and throw it out there. But, he came out and said, look. Yeah, the Coinbase guy. So Coinbase guy comes out and says, hey, if you want to be political, that's not here, man. We're not going to get political. We're not going to engage in this side and that side. Now, a lot of people took a lot of, what's the word I'm looking for? They took a lot of, I can't even think of the word. I hate when I can't think of the word. But they took offense to that. They're like, whoa, my gosh. And they hammered him. And then he had people hammering him for this and for saying that, and people applauding him for saying that. What he's trying to do is run a company. He's trying to be, they're trying to do an IPO. They have their own shareholders that they're committed to making, and rolling out new products and new revenue opportunities and things. You're focused in on that. They don't want to be sidetracked by politics and all this other mumbo jumbo. That shouldn't really be what we're do inside of an organization. And Jeff, would you look at the time? My God, how did that happen? 1:40.
Yeah, know what I just said.
I know. I just saying it again. Yeah,
The
well,
thing keeps getting all messed
that's
up.
why I sent you a WhatsApp message about 5 minutes ago, 6 minutes ago.
That's a good thing. My phone's way over here. I was on a rant and my phone is
you
over
were on
here.
a good one, but again, this has been great. I mean, we've had so much, I wouldn't say fun talking about it, but what I really enjoyed is the comments. Really good stuff. You really make us think, and GDLT, his political opinions were not his own, but that of his customers who are the IMF, who want green finance, the BIS, who want green finance, and the WEF, who want green finance. All right, fair enough. Fair enough on that point that he was sort of communicating to his clients, but yeah, that's a good point.
But what about the carbon credits? Yeah, we came up. Remember, we were talking about a product that would pay the carbon credits. I knew we should have rolled that out.
We were joking about that,
We were
and
joking
I said
about the carbon credit, and
we were preposterous. But and there it is. It happens, right? Yeah. So anyway, listen. I want to thank everybody for being here. Thank you very much for being here. I just said that twice, Jeff. Isn't that weird?
Thank you very much for being here.
Let me thank everybody for being here one more time. No, it's great having you guys here. You can check out our other channel. We're dropping stuff. I'll be doing a live stream tomorrow at noon, U.S. time, Miami time, actually New York time, whatever.
Yeah,
and I've just kind of been
keep it rolling.
I'm going to keep it rolling because I've been enjoying going through these docs, and because it helps me, when you have to go through it and explain it and look at it and then see opinions on it, because I like to see everyone's opinion. And people will say something that'll make me rethink it, like, I didn't consider that angle. So it's always good to hear from a lot of different people. Jeff, what do you say?
Yeti.
That's what we were looking at calling it. It was the Yeti coin. So we can make the Yeti coin. And it can be environmentally friendly. We can have carbon credits. And then that carbon credit one comes out, and Uphold's been hammering it all over the place on Twitter. So bring us out of here, Jeff.
Let's get out of here. You guys are awesome. Want to just give a shout out. We still have 618 people, even though over here it says 789. We were up to over 900 today on the stream, now 593. But before you guys go, make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit subscribe, hit that little bell notifier, because I know every time I subscribe to a channel, if I don't hit the notifier, I don't get notified. And I've been wondering why a lot of my favorite YouTube shows I'm not getting notifications. And it's because I didn't hit that bell notification. So that's important. Give a thumbs up. Definitely appreciate you guys here. If you want to help support the channel, just share it. Sharing us all around definitely helps us out. And we look forward to seeing you back on the next one. I'll be streaming on Saturday morning at 8 a.m. And then we're back here on Sunday for the roundtable, which is Sunday evening at 8 p.m. And we might just keep this thing going. Normally, we're streaming 3 times a week. Chip's been really crushing it, and he's going to do another noon stream tomorrow. So make sure you guys tune in at noon. That's 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
That's it. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. We'll see you on the next one. Chip.
On the next one.
Jeff, out.
Out. Hit it.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.